We're back here on CBS Sports HQ with a check-in on the third round of the U.S. Open from Oakmont. Here's a look at the updated leaderboard. Absent from it, Rory McIlroy finished today 4 over 74 at the U.S. Open. Now, after his round, he spoke to the media. It was actually the first time he's spoken at a tournament following a round. In fact, the first time since he spoke to the media in general after a round since a major championship, since winning the Masters. So McIlroy addressed the conversation and the issue of his unwillingness to talk to the media head on. Take a listen.
Transparent with us and very available. Yesterday was 6 majors in a row, rounds, kind of stepped away. Is that then part and parcel to the frustration on the golf course? What do you attribute?
No, not really. It's more a frustration with you guys. But yeah,
In what way?
I'm just, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been totally available for the last few years, and I'm not saying maybe not you guys, but maybe more just the whole thing.
I mean, the whole driver thing. I mean, it seems
Yeah, part of I mean, that was a part of it. Yeah, that was a part of it. But it's not as if, like, at Augusta I skipped you guys on Thursday. So yeah, it's not as if it's not out of the ordinary. I've done it before. I'm just doing it a little more often.
Is it part of the you kind of carried the tour with your words for like 3 or 4 years now? You feel like you've earned a break?
I feel like I've earned the right to do whatever I want to do. Yeah.
you have, in relation to that, kind of almost addressed the fact that the tour does not require that kind of thing. It's almost like you're daring them to do so in some way. Is that, you know, in terms of a requirement from other players?
No, I'm not daring them to do anything. I hope they don't change it, because it would, you know, it's a nice luxury to have. But I'm just pointing out the fact that we have the ability to do it.
Okay, so let's go ahead and welcome in Patrick McDonald and Greg Ducharme here for much more on this. Guys, you know, we know Rory hasn't been transparent like this before. We know he doesn't often speak to the media after rounds. We also know that this hasn't been a great performance for him. You know, Patrick, you were actually in that media scrum, so I want to come to you first on this. What do you make of his comments and his play thus far on day 3?
It was pretty awkward, honestly. I kind of wanted to look away, but I will give Rory the benefit of the doubt. He spoke ahead of the Canadian Open last week. He spoke after both of those rounds, even when he shot 78 and missed the cut in spectacular fashion. So he has been talking to the media somewhat, but for me, it's really just a guy who maybe reached the mountaintop of winning the Masters and doesn't know where to go from here. We had the PGA Championship discussion in that soundbite with the non-conforming driver. He's obviously still pretty irked about that. He's talked about that at the Canadian Open before, and I think he's just a little flustered and a little lost right now. His game wasn't in a great spot last week, not in a great spot this week. He said he drove the ball better, but it still wasn't great. It wasn't the Rory McIlroy standard, and after his round, he said what he's looking forward to tomorrow is hopefully a round that's under 4.5 hours and to get out of Pittsburgh. So to me, it just seems like a guy who's searching for what's next in his career and what he wants to get out of his career now that he is a career Grand Slam winner.
It's really quite a shocking attitude for me, for somebody who has done, I would say, everything that you need to do in a career, or everything that Rory has said he wanted to do in a career. He's pretty much accomplished, and you know, it's a time to celebrate. If you're not going to be, you know, focusing and re-gearing and preparing yourself for major championships, I don't think there's a single media member that would raise an eyebrow about that. You just won the career Grand Slam. It's an 11-year journey. Yet this seems like a guy who's just frustrated and angry and has a really bad attitude right now. And I don't know if it's because of the media. I don't know if he's frustrated because of his game and is annoyed that he has to talk to the media after playing poorly, or but it definitely seems to me like Rory, from a golf swing perspective, is close enough to play good golf. Yeah. But his mindset is in a really bad place.
Yeah, I think you put that perfectly. A shocking attitude response, and I don't think we would be sitting sitting here talking about it if he didn't make it maybe a story or something for us to talk about. We all would be still celebrating that Grand Slam win and that Masters win as well. But I think at the end of the day, we all have a job to do, including the media, right? Let's go ahead and move on here and get to world #1 Scottie Scheffler, who continues to really keep his name in the ring with a bit of an up and down performance today at times. 3 birdies, but also 3 bogeys. Greg, what have you seen from him?
Well, it's more of the same from Scottie Scheffler, although he is hitting it a little better in round 3, in my estimation. The work he did with his coach, Randy Smith, yesterday, which Patrick saw firsthand, has definitely been working. He's hitting the ball a lot better, but there's still just careless mistakes, like the 3-putt at #1. At number 14, right before we came on air, he had 6 feet for birdie. What an opportunity to get himself back in the mix, and he's unable to convert there. 8, another 3-putt at that hole. You just start to add up the careless mistakes, if you will, the unforced errors from Scottie Scheffler, and if you take those away, he is, I mean, potentially leading this golf tournament. So that's how many unforced errors he's made this week, even though he hasn't had his best stuff. Maybe we could see another charge like we saw at the PGA to finish out this round, and he could really get in contention, but we're going to need to see some putts fall.
Just feels like every time he gets a little bit of momentum, something happens, like Greg mentioned. He makes the birdie on number 2, and then he's unable to follow it up with a good look there on the very next hole. And it just seemed like that over and over again. He gets one on 7, and then he 3-putts 8. He hits it in the ditch on 9. Okay, he still has an opportunity on this back 9. Hits a really nice pitch there into 12. Had a chance, had a look for eagle there on the par 5. And then, like Greg mentioned, he hit an approach in a 13. His spin control a little bit off there. 14 doesn't make that one from 6 feet in. So it just seems like a stop and go type of tournament for Scottie Scheffler. But like Greg mentioned, he's still 4 over. The leading pack is still going to have to struggle around the turn with 7, 8, and 9 in front of them. So he does have an opportunity at the end of his round to maybe grab one more birdie, maybe play the stretch in 1 under or even par, and give himself a chance heading into tomorrow.
All right, lastly here, you guys, Jon Rahm, former winner of this tournament, as we know, finds himself really in the thick of this competition. He's in the top half of the leaderboard, and we know, Patrick, what he is capable of doing. How do you really view his chances to be in contention and really win this on Sunday?
He's got to start making putts, and he has started to make some putts today. Made a really nice birdie there on the long par 3 8th. But Rahm, it seems like he is driving the absolute cover off the golf ball right now. But when he does miss fairways, it seems to be on those fairways where you really need to hit it to be able to score. He missed the fairway on both of those par 5s, was unable to really give himself a scoring opportunity in his hand. Had to hit mid to long irons in both of those greens. He got around the turn with the par there on, or a bogey there on number 10. And so for Rahm, he's kind of in a similar boat to Scottie Scheffler, where if he's able to get on a run here from, say, 13 through 15, pick up a birdie in one of those holes, he's going to be in really good shape heading into tomorrow, especially with the leaders still with a lot of their 3rd round left.
You know, Jon Rahm leads this field in strokes gained approach the green right now, and you don't need to look at a stat sheet to see that, because constantly, every time this guy is up on camera, he's got 8 feet for birdie. The problem is he's missing them, and you're seeing a lot of hand signals. So there's good and bad in this. The bad is, obviously, he's at 4 over and 6 shots back. The good is it's much easier for him to go on a run at this point the way he's hitting it than it is for Scottie Scheffler or, quite frankly, anybody else in this field. So those putts that Patrick mentions that he has to get to go are not from very long range. You know, he doesn't need a miracle here. He just needs to start making putts in that, 8 to 12 foot range, like he is just piling them on, giving himself piles of opportunities from that range. So if he could pick up just 2 or 3 in these next couple of holes, for most players in the field, that would be a stretch. The way Jon Rahm's hitting it, it's very possible. And if he can do that, well, we may be looking at another Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon charge like we saw at Quail Hollow from John Rahm.
All right, we'll see if he can pick things up ahead of tomorrow's final round from the U.S. Open. Gentlemen, great to see you. Greg Ducharme and Patrick McDonald joining me here live on CBS Sports HQ for a check-in from the U.S. Open from Oakmont. Here's a look at that updated leaderboard. We were just talking about John Rahm looking for a second U.S. Open title, 4 over 6 back at the top of the leaderboard at 2 under. Both Sam Burns and J.J. Spawn. We'll have much more from the U.S. Open throughout the day here on CBS Sports HQ.